Good morning, Flagler County. We are here with Mike OMeally. Yes. So many of you may know him because of his wildlife photography.
Yeah.
But do you mind telling us what you actually do for a living?
So most of the time I work with individuals with autism on their anxiety, some of them from a group home setting, some from foster care, and so I walk them through grounding techniques, managing their stress, things like that. And a lot of it I get to practice in my photography, and I get to hide it well.
Okay. So what actually got you into wildlife and landscape photography?
Well, the landscape photography was the sand emergency in Matanzas Inlet because it was such a growing problem before anybody knew about it. And so it's not that I freaked out about the situation, it's that I didn't know who to bring the right evidence to. And so the landscape photography was sort of eco-journalism, and the wildlife is to spread awareness.
Okay. So what kind of awareness are you trying to spread with your wildlife photography?
Habitat loss. I mean, too much habitat loss is impacting multiple kinds of wildlife. I should have never been able to find wild hogs here at Wadsworth Park. They had plenty of land. Roberts Road, at the end of Culvert, this used to be full of woods, but because of overdevelopment, everything is losing land and coming closer to people.
Okay. So what are some of the challenges that you face trying to capture the wildlife here in Flagler County?
Bugs.
Bugs?
Mostly bugs, especially because we have a lot of conservation area and preserves, places that pesticides aren't used because they want to promote the pollination of the wildflowers.
Okay.
A lot of the places are just chock full of snakes and bugs, and so it causes you to be safe, and that's one of the things that I try to promote, even though I'm long-winded about it.
So can you kind of, in your opinion, tell us how you feel that the development or the overdevelopment is affecting the wildlife here in Flagler County?
Well, here especially is a good example because of how many developments are being built around here. So all of the wildlife that was in the areas that were untouched now gets scared to the untouched places like the local parks. So to get some of my wildlife, I don't do anything more than check where the local fires are happening when they're clearing, and then where the local construction is. And I find the closer park, which is here or Herschel King, and at Herschel King, it's just across from a development where the wildlife comes to you, and I take advantage of that.
Okay. Do you have any ethical considerations that you use when you're out there photographing?
Yeah, the main one is to not leave any trace. That used to be the case, but now because so many people mess up where they like to hang out, you have to clean as you go. So it used to be leave no trace, but don't feed any wildlife. Let them be wild. There's no reason to get them anything other than them being themselves.
All right. How do you approach the subject of wildlife conservation through your photography?
Education.
Education?
Yeah. Well, I try, so education, you try to make it funny. And so you can't get people into environmentalism, but if you get them to care about the animal, they'll care about the environment around it. So in a backhanded way, it's spreading for environmentalism through wildlife photography.
Okay. Have you ever encountered a situation where you were trying to get the perfect shot and you had to prioritize the welfare over the animal over that shot?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There have been a couple of animals that have swallowed hooks. That's when you just drop everything and call Fish and Wildlife, especially if you're ever going to handle an animal, because they will tell you the dangers immediately. And so even if they're giving you bad news, they'll tell you how to help things along or that they'll be there. So I always just immediately call Fish and Wildlife when that happens.
So obviously you have Fish and Wildlife saved in your phone, probably under a speed dial?
Well, yeah, unfortunately I'm a regular, and if there's ever an issue, like at Fort Matanzas, I call the park range. I just know the jurisdictions of everywhere now, and it's a weird life.
So for people that spend a lot of time outdoors, you would say that that's something they should consider doing, is having all the different jurisdictional authorities saved in their phones in case they come across something like that?
Oh yeah, well, so mostly for safety purposes, if you're going to hike around here, always have your GPS on with somebody who knows where you're going, and if there's an emergency where you are, you can take a screenshot of it, and if you ever come across an emergency, you can send a screenshot to FWC, and they'll know the quickest access to you to save the animal.
Okay.
That's stressful, but it works.
All right. How do you hope your work will impact viewers and raise awareness for wildlife conservation?
So once everybody moves here, it's gonna be a lot of growing pains, and I'm hoping that they understand what a dune is before they move here, so they don't trample the dune. I got to try to tell them about dangerous animals like our venomous snakes, and so it's more proactive, so I don't get frustrated because I don't want to come out here and see somebody hit by a snake.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to deal with it.
How have you learned so much about the local wildlife? Like, where did all of this knowledge come from?
Using it for various techniques and working with individuals with autism across different ways, and so really helping them with their hyperfixations, and so also helping them explore other hyperfixations. So if they love owls, I already have the shots for that, but I can also explore other birds of prey, and so learning helps me further them along.
Okay, so it's kind of one of those things where helping them helps you gain all of this extra knowledge.
And I do nature tours and talks usually for individuals with behavioral autism, and I keep safety in mind because not a lot of people think about that. Wow.
Okay, so a couple of the last questions I have is, how can residents help wildlife and nature with all of the development going on? What are some things that residents can do, even small things, to kind of help preserve the sanctity of our local environment?
Spreading information without getting frustrated, and it's one of the hardest things because a little bit of patience does go a long way. When people walk in the dunes, I try to explain to them how fragile the flowers are. That is basically an underground garden, and you don't understand because they were chosen for their hardy root systems that hold together the sand. So locals tend to yell first, but if we can get ahead of that and let everybody here know the important bits about the ecology, we can get them indoctrinated.
Okay. Obviously, people love wildlife. Everybody loves looking at pictures of the beautiful animals we have here in Flagler. What are some ways residents can interact or view wildlife while being safe? Do you have any tips or advice for people looking to get their own pictures? How do they do that safely for them and for the animals?
Or research the animal first. For like gopher tortoises, it's 25 feet away is the rule. I like to stay 50 feet away because then you get them going about their business. But all animals, what you really want, instead of people throwing food or getting its attention, is to watch it being wild. So even here, I hide in the shadows to make sure that I get our gator going after food itself instead of eating something without thrown at it.
Okay.
And so just a hands-off approach, getting wildlife being wild, and never getting too close.
Never getting too close. That's awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the viewers and residents of Flagler County about our local environment and the wildlife that we have here?
Just that there's going to be a lot of growing pains, and thankfully they're building out west after they approve every construction site here, and so I'm trying to get ahead of that. And I understand that I do it in a weird way, but I appreciate everybody's patience with me. And that's why everybody in this county has been real cool.
That's really great to hear.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I loved talking with you. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find this video on our YouTube, on our Facebook, and on our website.